Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you on today's EduCafé. I'm Vendula Nováčková. I am the head of office of the representation of the South Moravian Region. And this is Zdeňka Trachtová, head of office of Cello. And she will tell you something more about today's evening.
Good evening also from my side, on behalf of Cello office. And I would like to welcome you to the first EduCafé of this year. We decided to dedicate this evening's discussion to gender inequalities in education. We feel that this topic is very current for two main reasons. First, the European Digital Education Action Plan and the Digital Decade Policy Programme stress the need to increase both basic and advanced digital skills of the European population. And second, it's very closely connected with women participation and involvement in STEM fields in general. We don't want to only increase the number of skilled Europeans, we also want to ensure gender equality and encourage women's interest in these fields. And also, this debate is also organized as part of the European Year of Skills. I hope that you will enjoy the evening, and now I would like to pass the floor to Zdeňka Trachtová. She is foreign correspondent of the Czech Radio in Brussels and the moderator of our debate. So enjoy the evening, and Zdeňka, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lenka. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored that I have the opportunity to moderate the discussion on this specific topic because I've been interested in the topic of gender inequalities for a very long time, personally. So I'm glad that we can discuss it deeply because gender inequalities in education are not anything natural, even though significant part of society have sometimes tendencies to see it as a natural thing. The inequalities have negative effect on individual children as well as on the whole society. I don't think that we will find any solution, any miracle solution tonight, but it is important to open this topic and to discuss it. Now I would like to welcome and introduce the main protagonists of this evening. Our two guests who just arrived from Prague to Brussels today and who spent the rainy day in Brussels. Johana Jonáková, director of the non-governmental non-profit organization Gender Studies. She is expert on gender equality and social integration. She has also professional experiences in a public administration in Czech Republic and also in Germany. In Czech Republic, she worked at the Ministry of Regional Development, and in Germany she has experiences with work for Ministry of Economics. So she might have some interesting observations about comparison between those two states, those two systems.
Hello and good evening.
And I'd like to also warmly welcome Olga Maximová, head of development in non-profit organization Czechitas, which tries to increase diversity in the world of IT. Olga is also a member of the board of directors of the Czechitas Foundation. It aims to make IT education more accessible to economically disadvantaged women in Czech Republic. That's not everything. Olga also works as a mentor with the international Femme Palette Women's Network.
Hi.
So, thank you very much for coming to spend the evening with us. We will try to find answers to several questions today. First, why do gender inequalities still persist in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, shortly in the so-called STEM areas of education? What are the consequences of these inequalities, both for individual children and for the society as a whole? And finally, what can we do about it? How to change the situation for better? So the initial discussion will take about 1 hour, and then it will be your turn, ladies and gentlemen. There will be space for your questions, so we can continue the discussion in a more interactive way. Now, let's start from the beginning and answer the fundamental question. Why the division between so-called female and male study fields and professions still persists in Czech society? Johana, what is your opinion? Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, thank you. I think the crucial problem are gender stereotypes in our society. Stereotypes are are actually good. We need them because they help us to identify ourselves with some specific group with region or with nationality. It's part of our socialization. So we need stereotypes, but it is important to be aware of it. And gender stereotypes, they are based on beliefs that boys and girls have different competences, and they are based on their gender. That's the crucial problem in my point of view. So, and women's role are mostly related just to care for children, for adults, for other people, just in this area, care. And this bias, gender stereotypes bias, are common and deeply rooted in our minds and in our society. So that's and another or the last thing, that this bias or these beliefs influence how we educate children, how we accept boys and girls, or what we expected they will choose for their professional careers. And that's the point what we will discuss later probably.
Olga, you and the whole organization Czechitas monitor closely the situation in IT fields. Could you maybe compare the situation in IT education in Czech Republic with the whole European Union? I know that you prepared some slides, so you can show us.
Thank you, Zdeňka. I will definitely answer this question. But before I do, I wanted to say a few things. I think that tonight is it is about bridging the STEAM gender gap, or bridging the gender digital divide, whatever you call it. I think it should be about bridging the gap between us and you, and not really distinguish. And I would like to encourage you to stay after the discussion, and really, because me and Johana traveled. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning to come here and talk to you. I will be talking a lot, obviously, about Czech Republic, how it compares to other EU states. But I would be very interested to hear where you're from, who you are, what is the situation, why you're here. Maybe you disagree with that, it's fine. Maybe you have your opinions, maybe you write a thesis. And I would really like to use this platform and exchange, connections, because I think this is, it shouldn't be just another discussion, when you say a few interesting things, but it should really, I believe there should be a follow-up. So this is my personal appeal to you. And in terms of the situation in the Czech Republic, well, it sucks. we are worst in every scenario, but I mean, we are worst when it comes to representation of women in IT. We are, and I'm talking about adult women, we are on the 27th place out of the 27 member states. When it comes to country that has the toughest time to hire IT talent, we are the worst. But when it comes to female students, we're not doing that bad, although we are still under the European Union average. And as you can see, Belgium is not doing really great. So if there's someone from here, I would love to know why. And as you can see, Romania is doing really good. So if there's someone from Romania. The reason Johana has outlined a few things, stereotypes and things, but there are two interesting reasons why the number is so low. And the first are mothers. Mothers are really great role models for the girls when they choose either high school or university. So they help shape the careers. And if mom cannot imagine what it means to have a career in software engineering, she cannot encourage her child or her daughter to pursue that career, because moms and dads, they want us to be very often, and I'm talking from my own perspective as well, they want us to be, nurses, doctors, vets, diplomats, but they, when I said I'd like to be a software engineer or data analyst, they didn't know what it means, and they didn't know how it would how the situation would look like. So that is one reason, and the other reason is, girls, usually 10 years old, when they, again, start thinking about their careers, they would love to have all A's, and they can imagine what it means to have A in biology, but they don't know what it means to have A in software engineering. Someone's nodding, so she maybe the person's relating. So they don't necessarily pursue that field of study, and they don't even think about it because they think like, okay, I don't really know. There's this whale. And I know, Zdeňka, you told me to not get too much into detail because we have a lot to cover, but I will get to it. Thank you.
Before we change slides, maybe for me a little bit surprising is that the biggest share of girls in IT studies is in Romania, also Greece, Bulgaria. I would expect that the leading role would be in, Nordic countries or Western countries. What do you think is the reason that these countries are doing so well?
I know exactly what the reason is because I asked ChatGPT yesterday, and I was told that the reason is that the government invests heavily into supporting women into IT because they understand the benefits of diversity, and this is maybe why we're not doing that great. But in terms of this slide, I also wanted to say that the number of female students at the universities is relatively high, but these students are non-Czechs very often. Yeah, so they may probably come from Romania, I guess, but they study in the Czech Republic. So that's another reason. That's another interesting fact.
And they are included in which part of the graph?
In Czechia.
In Czechia.
Yeah.
Oh. So that is not Czech girls.
That's not necessarily Czech girls. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how about the absolvents? I know that you have some data about absolvents.
Yeah. So this is just very quickly to explain the slide. If you imagine a building, a university, every seventh man would enter the IT studies, door, and every 50th woman would do so. So in a 100-member classroom, there would be 80% of men and 17% of women. And these are graduates, because obviously not everybody finishes the university, and there is a term which is called leaky pipelines. So as women progress towards their career, they have children, and they have this, and they have that, and so we lose the talent. So 650 women would graduate between these years in Czechia from ICT, and as opposed to 3,000-something men. So it sucks.
If I did my math correctly, the proportion of women among IT students in Czech Republic is approximately 16%, and among graduates is about 20%. So if I understand it correctly, there is only a few girls studying IT, but if the girl is studying IT, she has higher chances to finish and to graduate. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Very good. You should be in IT. Although that's a stereotype, because math doesn't, being good in math doesn't mean that you would be good in IT. It doesn't really require to be good at math. You can have other skills. You can be empathetic. You can speak Finnish. You can still do. You can still do IT.
Johana, IT is of course not the only sector with huge inequalities between boys and girls. In which other fields are gender inequalities in education most evident in Czech Republic?
On the beginning, you spoke about STEM fields. It means science, technology, engineering, math. So I have here, my data are taken from EduCafé Gender and and Science from Czech Academy of Sciences, and I took the number of researchers because Olga, you meant here you spoken about the leaky pipeline, and we can see it here by the numbers of researchers and in which field we have female researcher. And although you can imagine that women choose more humanities, or you will expect it, or social sciences in the researcher, by the researcher, they are not the 50% of they are not 50% of female. So the problem is because as I mentioned, the gender stereotypes. If you are a girl, and maybe some of the audience have ever heard something like, you are a girl, you don't need mathematics because you will not use it in your personal life. Or maybe physics is not for you, or because that's nothing for you. Or maybe you have some or you have heard some stereotypes, or you from your personal or professional life, maybe you have some.
Raise the hands. No?
No. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Can you just say it loudly? Yeah. Sorry.
I can say it loudly. I have a voice. But actually, it doesn't necessarily go to women. Women, I hear it all the time, maths and math, and I studied the Czech Technical University, so I got that down. But in architecture faculty, we would have professors from civil engineering telling us that we shouldn't ever organize construction sites. And that's basically what I professionally did for part of my career. So I laughed at the professor when I saw him after my graduation.
Yeah. Yeah. We have another answer or another example. If you want to say it loudly, or
Make it work.
yeah, maybe it works.
Hello, hi. Well, I recently had a situation in my own family. It concerns my cousins, so the age difference is 1 year. It was about entering university. The older cousin, so male, he wanted to study engineering, digitalization, like cyber engineering, and he was praised incredibly for his decision. But his sister, my cousin, a girl 1 year younger, she was told by her parents maybe she should go study English language. And she wanted to go study engineering by herself and create video games, but English is better for her. Well, in last minute she changed her mind, and I'm really happy for that. She did go to engineering, so it's in the family.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your example, because I have another, or that women don't have, and it's according to your first example, that women don't have special imagination. For example, we spoke about it today, that my husband, he doesn't have any special imagination, and if he said, yeah, we go this direction, I said, hey, that's total different direction. How could you say it? So it's not based on our gender, but it's based on our abilities, on or our talent, and on our what we were supported. But back to the sorry for
It's okay.
it's longer. So. Back to your question, as you ask, in which area we see the most differences. So in technical science, in natural science, we have the parity. In medical science, it's almost 50-50. And in the whole Europe, we have majority sciences and engineers in the EU are men, 59%.
We should probably emphasize, as I already mentioned in the introduction, that these gender inequalities in technical fields are not caused by any natural tendencies of boys and girls and their inclinations towards technical fields or humanities. Johana, am I correct? Is it definitely proven that biological sex of a child doesn't play any role in his or her study preferences?
Yes, and it's proved by really many researchers, and women and men, and boys and girls don't have special competencies just for natural sciences or for humanities, just because based on their gender. It's really which occupation and which profession we choose for. It depends on our socialization, and it depends on our family and how our parents taught us, how we were educated, which teachers we have, and how the teachers spoke with us. and it's and I think it's really crucial element to be aware of it, that everyone from us has some stereotypes in our mind, because we came from different we are coming from different families, and some stereotypes are recycled.
You both mentioned stereotypes that comes from the people which are very close to children, from the family, from parents. Before we move to the deeper discussion about the role of stereotypes, let's watch a short video which could be a good introduction to this topic. It's a quite cute experiment from 2020. So, where does it all start? Where the decision about the future career path of girl or boy begins. We just saw the video about the toys, girls and boys' toys. Are toys also really the factor that could influence in the future of a child? Johana.
I think it's the whole attitude. It's not only about toys, but imagine what toys we offer to our children. It's called unconscious bias. It means that although we are open-minded, as we heard, we can push our children to some occupation or some profession or for some toys because we think that it's good thing for them. But it's not only about toys. It's about the whole. As I mentioned, it's how we communicate with children. What language we use. Do we use "Come on, you are a strong boy," or "Yeah, my little sweet girl," you know? Do you hear the difference, strong boy and sweet little girl? And how we encourage them to find their talent.
On that, may I?
Of course.
Sorry. Guys, if you see me shaking, I'm not nervous, but I'm really cold, so I will go and grab my coat in a bit. But I wanted to comment on what Johana just said, because something came to my mind. There is a very interesting video on YouTube. It's called Perfection versus Bravery. If you want to see that, it is that we teach our boys to be brave and our girls to be perfect. And the same person is nodding again, so it means we need to talk.
Olga, maybe before you grab your coat, your organization works with adult students of IT. Do you discuss with them why they only start to study IT in adulthood? Why they didn't choose this path earlier in their lives?
Yes, we do. So just a reminder, the organization I work for is a non-profit organization called Czechitas, and we train about 60,000 women a year in digital skills, data analysis, web testing, and lately cybersecurity. And we focus on reskilling of adult women. So you work in an HR, or you are a nurse or a diplomat, and then you reskill, and then you're a data analyst or a cybersecurity specialist. And the women that come to us are very often women who care for preschool children, or they are also women 45 plus, and they all, not all 60,000, because obviously we wouldn't be the worst in the whole European Union, but so far, since we have established the organization, over 1,000 women have radically changed their career, and they're very successful and very happy where they are. And when we ask them, we run a survey among our students, and we ask them, so why did you never consider, or have you never considered IT, or what was the reason that you're starting when you're 35, 45, 50? And a thing that keeps recurring is, oh, I thought I was too old to do it. But they say it even when they're 15, because they compare themselves to boys who are 8 years old. So the age was number one reason. And there were other reasons, such as, for example, access to computer. Typically computers, when I was born, and a bit later, 80s, computer was in boys' rooms. So access to computer, access to peers, access to role models, nothing like that really existed. Stereotypes, but not only from others, because I don't think it is fair, and maybe Johanna will disagree with me, but to kind of point fingers that others, stereotype us. I think we stereotype ourselves as well. So women stereotype themselves quite a lot. I'm too old. I'm not good enough for that. There is a good study. It's called "Frustration Steering Women Away from from Software Engineering," and it points 5 main reasons why women do not pursue careers, or why they don't even consider that. And that's access, stereotype, confidence, feeling valued, and sense of belonging. And the feeling valued is also very important, because women just feel tired of proving others wrong constantly, even though they're good. They have to prove themselves, that they're good. And the stereotypes, it's another interesting thing. We tend to have these stereotypes that if you are not nerdy enough, you can't be in IT. If you wear high heels and you want to dress up and wear makeup, you can't be in IT. If you speak languages and you bring empathy and complex problem solving, you can't be in IT, because we need different skills in IT. That's not how it should be, and it's proven that it's wrong.
Johana, yes. What are the consequences of the fact that the share of girls in so-called STEM fields of education is so low? Why should we even deal with it? Why is it a problem?
First of all, I think we need diversity, but in different fields. And if someone is design some program, imagine that every new program will be designed just from people, by people. They are 20 years old. So imagine, probably no one will think about if you can see it good, if you can read it, because you probably need to put it a little bit away. Or so if you have just a part or just some experience, so it's not the whole cycle, I think. So, but if we disregard the positives of diversity, we will speak about gender pay gap, because in this ICT and STEM fields, it's quite huge. Gender pay gap, it means the difference, or how many percent women earn, or how many women and men earn. And in Czech Republic, it's according to new data, it's 17%. So it means women earn less on average than men, 17%, and it's approximately, when we look to specific fields like financial and insurance, that's the worst. It's 37, and in IT, I think 30%. It means that's the first problem, this gender pay gap, and of course, it has consequences for pension. So we speaking about pension, gender pension gap, or female poverty.
We talked about the role of the family. Girls can be discouraged from technical fields by their own parents and the closest family. But this is apparently also the problem which is the most difficult to solve. So it's a question for both of you. Do you see any ways how to work with families in this regard?
Well, I don't have kids, so I don't feel in a position to give much advice about how to raise your kids, but I always give advice to my sister. And typically it is said, it has been proven that mothers are those who help shape the careers. And it's important to make the mother understand that she is a role model, and she should herself try to push the boundaries and progress in the field that she chose for her child, be it STEAM or something else. So very, very often, and I'm originally from Slovakia, but I have been living in Czech Republic for years, so I'm speaking on behalf of both countries. Typically, when a daughter or a girl wanted to, let's say, wanted her mom help her download a game on the tablet, for example, she would say, "Mom, can you help me? I don't know how to do this and that." And mom would say, oh, you know what, I don't know, but let's wait for the dad to come home and he will show us or he will do it. And she's not doing this because of the bad will. You know, she wants the best for the child, but she doesn't realize that this is the unconscious part of our, existence. So push the boundaries, even if it's just fixing your VPN or small things, gain the confidence in that, and this way you can really, help your little girl progress towards the career that if you want to help her get into that, and if she has the tendencies and she's showing the interest. And I hate to say it, if she's showing the talent, because I think talent is absolutely overrated. I don't think there's such thing as talent. I was
strong side.
Very strong side. I was talking to one university, one high school. Doesn't matter. They in Slovakia they're establishing like a digital hub. And they said, the teacher and the director said, "Oh, we're going to work with the most talented students." And I thought, "Oh God, no!" So maybe we can talk about that.
So the little girl is growing up. She's 6, and at the age of 6 in Czech Republic, she's going to elementary school. What role do teachers play in her future directions?
May I make a little bit one step back, because
Sure.
we are speaking about women, but gender stereotypes are a problem for men and for boys as well. Because if you as a boy may have made an atypical career choice, it probably means that you decided for less paid job and less value or assessment less assessment, because the jobs or the position related to care are less paid. And it's a circle. It are less paid. There are more women because women are not taken as the main breadwinner. So it's a circle. So and it's a pity because we want to have our partners that they care for their children, that they are empathetic as well, and they show empathy. And it's not based on gender, it's based on the person. So sorry for, I just need to
Yeah, just a little notice. I just read some statistics about teachers in kindergartens, and 99% of teachers in kindergartens in Czech Republic are female. So
yeah, and if you decide to do that in kindergarten in Czech, so as a man, probably some of parents will say it's really good. Maybe he has bad behavior with the kids. So there are another stereotypes. But back to the school, elementary school, and I will repeat some of my thought, because we know, according to research, that teachers speak differently with girls and boys. You mentioned it because, and they assess, they evaluate them different. If a girl is really good and has good grades, the teacher will assess it as a normal, or she is a nerd, or šprt. I don't know, nerd. But if a boy is boys are taken by another different way, and as I mentioned, the strong boy. That's quite often in the class. I need some strong man to help me with something. Why? It's I think it's crucial, and it's the unconscious.
yeah, and where do you see the solution? Should the system of training of future teachers in universities should it be somehow adjusted? And if so, how?
it's necessary to say there are no female or male occupation, no female and male profession. I think we should stress the strong side of each child. Me don't like talent either, but I want us to not talent, but the strong side, and to develop and make it possible to develop the strong side, and without these stereotypes in our minds. So be open as a teacher that girl can be loud and boy can be soft or be quiet or be or cry. It's normal.
Olga, do you see some examples of a good practice, for example, from abroad, but also maybe in some Czech schools, in an approach to the children?
In Czech schools, I'm not that sure. Honestly, I think the situation. Yeah, but I don't know each school, right? So overall, and I actually went to someone who has been a professor of informatics at the Masaryk University in Brno, who has awful lot of experience in it, and I asked her this question, so if we talk about like good examples, and there are not many great examples in the Czech Republic because the informatics is being taught as, the teachers who teach informatics at the high schools, they kind of have to do it because nobody else is doing it. I don't know whether if you're older, like 35 plus, you would probably remember, and if you come from where I come from, who taught you English? A former Russian speaker, right? So, a teacher of Russian. So this is the same pattern. So if the teacher is, doesn't have the passion for the subject matter, doesn't have the passion for the field, doesn't really know how to handle, girls and boys in this. So the situation is not great. I believe there are some good examples. I may not be aware of them. Apparently very good examples are in, that's not in Europe. In Europe, Singapore tends to be really good in teaching teachers how to teach IT.
One of the main turning points comes when the girl student is leaving high school and choosing the university. I can imagine that many girls may be discouraged from studying technical fields by a strongly masculine environment where they would be in minority. How to work with this? Do you see a solution?
Yeah, I think just a few points on that the fear of social rejection is a real pain. So if this happens, it's a real issue that applies to high school or university. I don't necessarily think that there's a lot of masculinity that men consciously, want to steer women away from computing. If they do something, it's unconscious. The sexism might be unconscious. Here is a bad joke, there is a bad joke, and then they don't necessarily realize that it can have an effect on the girls, on the women. In our organization, for example, we help teachers teach IT. We help them get the digital skills, get the confidence. We also help companies, like businesses, to set up a good, inclusive environment. So I think this would be one of the ways, to really explain to teachers, unconscious bias is a thing. Each of us have it. I have it. You have it. It's good to realize it, and it's good to work with that. So I would start there.
Johana, what can universities do to attract women students? Do you see some examples of successful media campaigns, for example?
I have another example of not good campaign, but
tell us.
And then the university will never work together with us. No. No. I think it's quite important to use the really non-stereotypical pictures or some statements. For example, I remember it was a technical university in Brno, and they use the statement "fit because it was Faculty in Information Technology, fit suit girls. So don't use, I think just be open and don't use stereotypes. And it's quite important for the campaign to think about it. Who is addressed and who is named, who is pictured, and in which way, in pink or in some really work. I don't know if you know this. Or role models. I think it's quite important things, because if you see that someone from your group, okay, I don't like it, but if you see that some girl or some women who were able to do that she is a high engineer or in researcher in some specific field, it can help you. I think it's the same way within the politics as well.
Yes.
I think it can help you. I'll just point on that, because I think this is very interesting. I do believe role models, because I have a role model. Who would have thought that I would join an organization, helping women into STEAM? I was in diplomatic services before, and I would never have thought. So, I went to the organization and I didn't know what cloud was, and that's 4 years ago, and I'm not joking. And I found a role model, one of the founders of Czechitas, Barabinová. She's like, I absolutely want to do the best, just to be like her. But I think it's also important to understand and not only see the shining example at the end, but because what I see very often is, she's a professor of informatics, she is this and that, and she goes to United Nations and speaks there and does that. But I think it's important to show the journey, how she got there, what were the obstacles, where she failed, who helped her. So don't only show, the great result, but also show the less great results of some women, but also the journey, how to get there, that it's not like this, you don't wake up and
or peer program. They're quite important to see.
You mentioned role models. Recently, I just met a young girl nuclear physicist who works for Czech, and she's also very successful on Instagram. She's influencer. So do you think that this would be also the way, like bigger influence of these TikTokers and Instagrammers and young people like this?
There was a cybersecurity threat on TikTok not long ago, so I wouldn't go on TikTok. But influencers, we work with them. They have proven really good strategy. We actually started working with influencers long time ago, but we have used them a lot now when we extended our services to Ukrainian women fleeing the war, because we wanted to, this was a new group of beneficiaries, and we wanted to attract the attention. And this has proven to be a really, really good for the, I don't know what generation these people are, like from 20 to 30, but for that generation, definitely influencers are really, really great strategy.
Olga, earlier you mentioned that women often stereotypes themselves. Your organization is working on education and reskilling of adult women. How challenging is to educate these women, and is it necessary to overcome some handicaps resulting from those stereotypes? For example, do you have to challenge the problem with a low self-esteem?
Yes, we do. I don't think it's challenging to reskill women, because once they are with us, they're motivated enough to reskill. So a lot of work goes into awareness building. You have to go out there, talk about it, because it's not like you just train women and then what? Okay, you train them and then what? I think our added value is really understanding what's behind, why do they not come, why every 50th woman goes to IT field as opposed to every 7th man. So understanding the reason behind. I think that what is challenging is in the beginning, it's called, there's this term, it's called choice paralysis. They don't know where to start. Shall I start with C# or C+ or JavaScript or this or that, So we give them a helping hand, we show them how to start, where to start. And one really good thing that I think we can pride in is creating a safe environment where you can really ask any question you want, because the level of knowledge of IT of some women is that they don't know how to shift the language from Czech to English, for example, on their computer. And we are talking about like really senior leaders in organizations. I was surprised the other day when a friend of mine, who is a senior leader in a corporate organization, I owed her some money for lunch or something, and I said, send me a QR code. And she said, oh, I don't know how to do it. And I was like, what? You don't know how to send a QR code? But it is a reality. And if you ask this question during our course, nobody's going to laugh. Nobody's going to laugh. So I think this is important to create that environment. Gosh, and I could go on forever, but I think that this is it.
We discussed in details the situation in education in Czech Republic. It seems that the situation is not so good. But Johana, do you see any progress, or is the situation still stable? Are we moving forward?
We are moving. Where?
Forward?
Yeah, it's the question. Where, in which direction? If there, on there. I think there are really many activities and many perfect and very innovative strategies, but they are separated mostly in non-governmental sector, in some projects and in some strategies, but it's not covered by the state strategy on the state level. So I think Ministry of Education is trying to do something, but it's not very successful in it still. So I think there is no systematic approach in this. And we are in the reform of educational framework plans, but in different subjects, but this topic, it's not the crucial one. There are many, it's just one of them. So what I know that the National Pedagogical Institute made a new system of qualification, and they use now, since it's quite new thing, they use both gender for as language, because I think it's another point what we haven't spoken about it. It's the language, and Czech language, it's gendered, and it's quite important. If you use female or male form in English, it's easier, but Czech, it's really quite important. We had another videos, but we didn't have time to show it. But if you say teacher or if you say surgeon, so probably many people will, okay, it's a man, okay, I can, if I have draw it, but it's quite important thing to have this both qualification in both gender, and it's a step forward, small, but some.
About the development of policy in Czech Republic, yesterday I asked my friend who works for the organization EduIn, it is the organization focusing on education in Czech Republic, and I asked her whether she sees any efforts in Czech politics to improve the situation, to get rid of gender stereotypes in education. And she told me that it is actually not a big problem in Czech Republic, because Czech politics doesn't see it as a problem. They don't consider it as a problem. Do you agree with this pessimistic view, Olga?
I do and I don't. I do see initiatives in the Czech Republic happening to support more women into IT, and I see those who also, don't really care. So I wouldn't want to be black or white. I would probably imagine and want more support. But we have a minister for digitalization who's great, and he's our big fan, and every time he goes somewhere, he asks for advice and, some policy recommendations. So I see a will from some people, but I also see the old roots, of stereotypes that are going to be, there for some time.
And I will be critical. And I will agree with it a bit because I see some conservative approach. They are quite strong in our politics, and we could see it on the family work-life balance and in Czech Republic. So if there is someone who wants to discuss it, and I don't see the partner for the discussion that are really interested in the topic.
Maybe the homework for the new Minister of Education. We are now sitting in Brussels, very close from all European institutions. So what about the level of the whole European Union? Does European Commission comes with legislative or other efforts to somehow delete gender inequalities in education?
Yeah, the education policy is still the priority of national states. So I don't see, because I don't think the European Commission has this opportunity to change it. But I'm not the expert that you are, so maybe you can comment it more than me. But I don't see this initiative.
Now, I think it is a good time to give floor to you, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions to our guests or comments related to the topic that you would like to share, please don't hesitate. The floor is yours. There is my colleague with a microphone.
Now I'm shaking.
Well, hi there. Since I'm from the European Commission, I kind of felt obliged to give a comment to that one. I'm from the DG for Education and Culture, and I can assure you that also the bridging the STEM gender gap in education is very much on the agenda at the European Commission and the DG EAC. But you are also very right in your comment that education is indeed the responsibility of the member states. But having said that, we launched last year the European Strategy for Universities. And also here and in the European education area, the gender challenge in STEM is indeed something that we emphasize also in the digital education action plan. So it's high on the agenda, and also within like the Erasmus Plus program, which is absolutely central to kind of promote European policy in the field of education. We have a high number of projects, for example, across Europe that aim at improving the situation when it comes to women and girls in STEM. So there are several initiatives going on across Europe, but of course it is a challenge, and that's why it's very important to. And I'd like to thank you for inviting us here, and because I was very happy to see this very timely topic on the agenda. So this was a fantastic opportunity for us to get some inspiration as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Maybe would you dare, from your position, to comment on efforts on national levels?
That was a tricky question because I mean the EU it consists of a high number of countries. I think I also have a colleague of mine from here that covers more the school level. I cover higher education. So I don't think I want to compare the systems, but what we see is that there are differences between the European countries. You also showed some statistics, and but what we could also say that there was something interesting that was said that the impact of the policies, that's kind of tricky, that this pattern has been there for quite some time, and it's difficult to kind of change it. And I think probably this is something that you can find similarly in many of the European countries, although there are some differences. But we were also just in the process of launching a study to try to find more data and more information about these things, like what is the reality, what are the explanations. We know a lot, but we don't know everything. So I think we still need to look into to find kind of to document the situation in order to find the correct tools and solutions. So yeah, I don't know whether I really responded to the question. Yeah, thanks.
And actually, I was not fair to say that the EU doesn't do anything for us or for member states, but because without pressure of from EU, the Czech Republic will do nothing in the field of gender equality. So thanks to European Commission, we the position or in universities or researcher organization which wanted to get some horizon research grants, they need to have or they to proceed some process of or make a gender equality plan, and thanks to that plan, some university in Czech Republic, they realize, oh, we have some gender problem in our universities. We have different our students are male and female. Sorry to be ironical, but thanks to this, I think something moved or something changed.
I also wanted to comment on what the gentleman said. I don't know his name. Very eager to find out. And just about how things are moving across the European Union or not. I think there is a very nice initiative that has recently been launched. It's called Girls Go Circular. I don't know whether someone's aware of that. It's about 60,000, I think, women and girls, supporting them, picking up digital skills and skills of entrepreneurs. And what I like about this initiative, when I read about it, is they really want to engage, students, teachers, classrooms, all sorts of stakeholders. And I think this is how it should be. And if you are here from if you're a policymaker working on a individual, like national levels, I think what's important is pick and choose the organization or initiative that has had some success already, do support what works. Don't come up with new projects. There will be, we can have, each month we can have a new project on digital skills. But why? Why would we do it? Why don't we choose what's already working and supporting that? And just for God's sake, listen to the organizations when they tell you what they need. Because removing the barriers is really the thing, that we need to do. Removing the barriers towards progress. I should be in politics, right?
Yes, you should. So do we have another question or comments? Don't be shy. Yes, gentleman in the first row.
Thank you, Michal. Thank you for making this evening possible.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is it okay? And my question would be kind of abstract because you used words like gender and sex in such a manner that it's not clear what is what. But let's leave this aside. My question would be, don't you think that the problem with education can be that it's just too analytical? I've had part of my education during communism, part of it after, and it's been just too analytical, and it never ended. And I miss in education just the elementary question, what of it? What is this information useful for? How am I gonna use it in life or in job? And I see it's totally missing. So don't you think this would help if the clever guys at the ministries or at the commission would think for a while, what of it? Why do we need to know this?
Yeah, you were catching the breath, but I will just say that maybe what you are referring to is supporting critical thinking in our students, because you studied, I don't know when, but I think you might be the same kind of. Me too. But I have to tell you the truth. When I studied at a university, I will not name the university. It was great. I had a great time. But it wasn't until I went to Amsterdam for Erasmus for 6 months, and this is where I discovered what really university should be about. It shouldn't be about a teacher telling me something and me, repeating verbatim everything, trying to memorize it, but really having a critical thinking. And this is what you're referring to. And I think we are lacking this in the Czech Republic. Still, we don't encourage our students asking questions. We don't encourage them to kind of reason with us. And I don't want, if there are any teachers, I don't want to, be the Mrs. Know-it-all, obviously not, but from my personal experience, of my friends and of my family members, this is still the case. So I would say encourage critical thinking in students, and it would maybe solve you know what you are referring to.
Synthetic,
Mhm.
not necessarily critic, but synthetic. Just don't analyze, because people end up discussing whether in March or counting infinity.
Mhm.
That's what to me looks like they're doing all the time.
Interesting.
So I think this would answer the problem. Because that
How do you think it would affect the problem with the gender inequalities in education?
I would love to answer this question, but I have to admit I don't know the difference between sex and genders.
Maybe question for Johana? Could
but
you explain?
before, I tell you that somebody told me there's something like 75 genders, and biologically speaking, there are only 2 sexes. And I have a cousin in Bohemia who's kind of village simpleton, and he asked, what are you doing in the EU that you kind of do this? And I said, no, don't worry, it's not the EU, it's California. It's import from the States that there are 75 genders. So if you tell me what the difference is, I would be pleased to hear it.
Yeah, I think we can postpone this debate. I would like to answer the question, but I think or just sex is biological, but gender, it's the whole thing. I try to explain that it's what the society think that men or women have to do in their socialization. So it means gender. If you say I'm gender as a woman, my gender is women. So it's expected from the society that I will have children, I will care for them, I will do I'm probably empathic. I can speak with other people. When I'm angry, so everyone will say that I'm hysteric. And but if I will be man, I will be strong and I will be assertive. Yeah, that's simply, sorry for the simplification, but it's just in that context.
Thank you for explaining those definitions. Maybe we have a room. Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Jana. I don't want to commission to occupy the space, but I'm from DG Justice. So I just wanted to ask you more like very pragmatic and practical question rather, because you mentioned something about that you're cooperating with the Minister for Digitalization, which is great that actually there's an interest in the topics from the government side. So I was just wondering whether you're also cooperating on a European level with some other countries, for example, whether you have any exchange of good practices, also not only the practices how to implement the education, for example, reskilling, but also how to cooperate with the governments and how to, for example, reach for some funding for these activities, or how to present the politicians and us technocrats as well with some examples on how to like push for the cause, also for us to see like what's working, exactly what you said. So yeah.
Thank you very much for this really nice question. Actually, we have been, now I don't see you. We have been approached by, our organization has been approached by the Minister of Digitalization of Slovenia. She's a woman, she's an engineer, and she really wants to have Czechitas in Slovenia. So we are talking about, how to share the know-how, how to transfer the best practice from Czech Republic to Slovenia. We would like to obviously do this on the, whole EU level and have Czechitas everywhere. But that's, our mission and vision is to help Czech society, Czech women, because as you have seen the low numbers and everything. But what I think is a good practice, and this is where we would like some cooperation, is transferring the know-how how to set up a successful NGO like we are, because we call it a business mind, non-profit heart. We are very self-sufficient. I think we're very modern. In the Czech Republic, when I mentioned my parents that I'm going to work for non-profit, they were like, "Are you crazy? From diplomatic services to non-profit." So there's still this stereotype. So I think it's very important to support that as well. So we work with politicians on a EU level as well. We work with the United Nations. We give some policy recommendations. We work with the International Telecommunication Union as well on the Equals in Tech partnerships. So there are initiatives. What I say is that I sometimes would like to do less talking and more action. And funding, that's a new chapter. Let's do some session on funding, because I'm the head of fundraising, and I can tell you, it's a non-stop chasing money which are there, which are available. You just have to go through like 1 million obstacles till you get there, and then they tell you no because you forgot to put comma, after the sentence. It's very frustrating, and you can't really move the organization, if this keeps happening. And I also think that what's very important, if there's someone who can make any change, please try to think about unrestricted funding for NGOs. Not only programs related, because it doesn't really make sense, for us to go marching in the streets of Brussels, so that we get 1 million euros. It's nonsense, we need to do the business, and I'm in the non-profit business. So that would be my appeal. I love talking to politicians. I will do it. I want to do it. There's some great cooperation. There are great ideas and thoughts, but let's just move it to the next step. That would be cool. Thank you.
I have a bit of a selfish question. I come from the European Society for Engineering Education. It's also an NGO. Part of our portfolio is also doing research on integrating women, but mostly now we call it diversity, equity, and inclusion in engineering education. So there are people all around Europe that cooperate within our organization on studies directly relating to engineering education, higher engineering education. And so I wanted to see if there is any sort of initiative like this at universities in the Czech Republic that would work on these topics, let's say gender, because today's topic is gender, but this bring in more women and having, let's say, equal position within the profession. Is there more like scientific approach to this, and who to turn to?
Yeah, I can give you a list. There's a very nice student organization in the Czech Republic at the Masaryk University. It's called Witches. Beautiful project. Witches. It's like the IT stands for information technology, obviously. Witches. There's a very nice initiative called Maker Institute that also works with universities, and they encourage not only women but all 72 genders, 75 enter the field of engineering. And there was one more, but I just forgot the name, but I can refer you to some people that I know who work at the universities. We also help, university students, so yeah, we can talk.
Perfect.
I just think that the problem here is the thinking, what it is that we will do together. Because people usually come to us, I don't know whether you have the same, but they come to you and they say, we'd love to do something together. But the thinking part is hard. Like, what is it that we can do together? Who's going to find the money? Who's going to do this? So I think before I approach some organizations, I try to think what it is already that I offer, rather than telling them I want to do something with you, but I don't really know what. So maybe that's like one way how to approach it.
Thanks. Yes, the miss over there.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Teresa. I work for Eurocontrol. If you don't know, the organization it is doing air traffic management, so it's managing European airspace, let's say. And I would have a question based on the experience from my organization, because the organization sets the goal like to have, 30% or increase the percentage of women on technical positions. So today, if you have like 2 relevant applicants for one position, a man and a woman, the woman gets the job. And honestly, it's maybe how I
got the job, but I'm not sure if it's like a perceived, in a good way. Do you think it can help increase the number of women in STEM in general? Like is it the right way how to do that, or what's your opinion? Because for me, sometimes it looks a bit like a discrimination for men. Really. Thank you.
Yes, that's all the question of quotas. If it's when you have underrepresented gender, and you want to support it, because look to Czech reality, to Czech reality. If we will, and I know that its quotas are almost bad word, but as a representative on gender studies, it's okay. I can speak about quotas, because if we will sometimes in different field, I would be for it, and I think it's how to support the underrepresented gender. For me, it is, and another thing is that we need to make the environment possible to support women or support men in care fields, in care occupation, to go there and to say that's normal and it's okay and we want to have the parity, and it's important that you have these two candidates, male and female, and they are both good on the same level.
Yeah, I agree. I like to think that you got the job because you were great. And if there were two candidates and one of them happened to be male and the other one female, we don't necessarily always have to look at it through those lenses, that this is quotas, this is not. Let's just say that you were great. Oh, you have to know.
Yes. Before this discussion, we talked in a restaurant, and ladies said that they don't want to talk about quotas, and here it is.
It is.
I don't have problem with quotas, but you don't.
We were talking about the time, because the quotas, that's like a completely different subject, when you need to prepare some data, some statistics, you can't just be talking, without any evidence behind what you're saying, and that really dives deep into psychology as well. So we can do some session on quotas separately.
Do we have another question? Yes, please.
Hello, hi. Thank you so much for bringing the topic. I'm not a STEM girl myself. I have a degree in literature, but I do have a couple of friends, both in Belgium and back home in Serbia, who are working right now in the field of STEM, and despite passing through all the barriers from the early childhood until today in their late 20s, early 30s, they still face a lot of discrimination and comments and problematic statements, so to say, both from colleagues and employers and recruiters and the such. So I was just wondering, coming back to the theme of education, as a member of the Erasmus Student Network, I'm a big fan of education, both formal and non-formal, and of lifelong learning. So I was just wondering, how do you see the role of education, again, formal, non-formal, in kind of eradicating these, so to say, attitudes? Thank you.
I think it's a crucial one. And because when I'm speaking for formal education and elementary school, so you spend your 80% or 60% of your life in the school or in some education system, and it's quite important that your educators are open-minded and are aware of the bias and that we have it and the problems that it can cause. So for me, the education has really the crucial role and the crucial position of fighting gender stereotypes.
Yeah, and I'm here more or less for the informal learning, because we are a vocational organization supporting lifelong learning, and I think the learning never stops here. I would say what's very important is to open the discussion, but have some data, ready. If you want to convince someone, if you want to talk to men, especially men, about the sexism. I wouldn't come from a place of attack. I would come from a place of mutual understanding and explaining what benefit it brings to them as well, or the whole society as such, companies, but also to them, because if you're a man and you have a daughter at home, you want her to have the best life, but I don't think they necessarily think about that, that is going to maybe harm them, or she's going to this class with this 20 boys and they're laughing at her. So I would come from a place of mutual understanding and repeating the same thing until it really sinks in.
Thank you. Do we have another question? If we don't, I would like to thank you all for participation and for a very interesting discussion. And I'd like to pass the floor to Vendula. She will have some final words for you.
So I would like to just thanks all of you that you come to hear about the genders, and thank you very much, Johana, Olenka, and Zdenka, that you come from Prague and have this evening with us. And also I would like to thanks all teams of representation of the South Moravian region and also team of cello that we could make this great evening. And now I would like to invite you for the glass of South Moravian wine.
Thank you.